Hi guys, welcome to Web Technology, still on PHP Development Basics. After you might have chosen the right code editor for your PHP web development, we can start to learn more about PHP as a whole and how to use it for great web applications. I've actually selected the XAMPP control panel, to actually aid us in developing PHP web applications, which has Apache, MySQL, FileZilla, Mercury, and Tomcat, right embedded into one uh, great tool to use. I will be starting Apache and MySQL. That's the focus. Apache houses PHP, while MySQL is the database that we'll be fixing up or relying on using. So on the control panel, you need to start up the Apache and also MySQL. You have the same interface running right there on Mac and on Linux, this Windows operating system. So after having this, you need to point down to the Explorer. The Explorer houses the files, majorly the htdocs. The htdocs houses the web files that you'll be using, the folder of your projects. I have a lot of projects right there that's actually used XAMPP to build up, and you can also have yours. You create a folder and give it a name, and from there you use your preferable code editor to start writing codes right inside it. And you launch using the localhost. You go to your browser right there in the URL tab, type localhost, and you point down to where exactly the name of the folder that you're trying to search. I will be going through that later on. So I have a folder called PHP Basics. This is actually going to house the different tutorials we'll be handling when it comes to PHP development inside the PHP Basics. I can easily open that folder using brackets. Once you have that, you have brackets set up. You open the brackets project, start up with a folder, and from there you create new projects inside new files inside this folder. So I'll be creating our first file, which I'll name index.php. We'll have that right set, so it's a PHP file, and I'll double click to open it so that we'll start writing codes inside it. We have the index.php. So let's talk about PHP variables. A variable can have a short name like X and Y, or a more descriptive name, age, car name, total volume. We have different rules for PHP variables. A variable starts with the $sign followed by the name of the variable. A variable must start with a letter or the underscore character. A variable name cannot start with a number. A variable name can only contain alphanumeric characters and underscores. That's A to Z, 0 to 9, and underscore. Variable names are case sensitive, like $age is quite different from the capital H. There are two different kind of variables when it comes to PHP. We'll be looking at the different variables and the way you can use it in PHP. The PHP echo statement is often used to output data to the screen, and we'll be using the echo to echo out some stuff, and we'll be declaring our first variable. Follow me along. We have a PHP opening tag set up, and let's declare the first variable, which we call txt equals to, let's call PHP learning of the best. It's the domain text. We've declared our first variable, and let's echo that out. So really good, and we're passing the variable name called txt. Close that, and let's have the closing PHP tag That's fine. Save up. Now we are trying to echo out the variable called txt right inside a string. So let's have that saved. Afterwards, we'll head straight to localhost, and the name of the folder is PHP Basic. So let's move it there. We'll have to change this to PHP Basic. We're on. Now we have really good PHP learning at the best. Can you see? We've concatenated a string with a variable, and we have it showed like that. Now we're going to actually separate it and use the concatenation sign. Let's quickly do that. Instead of having this, let's echo out something else. Let's have a break. Let's echo out learning. Let's say we're really into. Now let's concatenate. That's the concatenate sign when it comes to PHP with a variable. Concatenate with exclamation. Save that. Now we need to add a line break between the two strings. So let's get to look at this right in the browser. A refresh. Now we have that. We're really into PHP learning at the best. So let's have integer values. Let's play around with declaring the x and y variable. Let's call it x equals to 5. While y equals to 10, or let's 11. That's fine. Now let's try to echo out the x and y. You can say echo x, concatenate plus the variable y. And let's close that right there. Let's save and see what happens. 16. So we can easily break that as well. Of that 16. And if you notice something, it's not even affecting calling any data type. If you've worked with higher programming languages like C++, Java, you need to declare data types. Look at just, and PHP is a loosely typed language. In the above example, if you notice, we did not have to tell PHP which data type the variable is. PHP automatically converts the variable to the correct data type depending on its value. In other languages, as I've mentioned, C and C++ and Java, the programmer must declare the name and type of the variable before using it. That's what you should really understand. Yeah. Now let's look at the variable scope in PHP. PHP variables can be declared anywhere in the script. The scope of a variable is the part of the script where the variable can be referenced or used. PHP has three different variable scopes: local, global, and static. We'll be looking at the three. different variable scopes. A variable can be declared outside a function, and this has a global scope and can only be accessed outside a function. A variable that you declared outside a function is definitely a global variable, and it can only be accessed outside that function, a function as well. You can't access it in a function. Let's have an example of such a kind of variable. So let's set back to brackets and let's create a function. Let's call it my test. And now, if you should notice, the variable x, y are all global scope. No, they are all global variables. This x and y, they are all global variables. Now let's try to echo paragraph. Let's say variable x inside function is let's close up. That's nice. Now let's call the my test variable outside function rather. So we're trying to make reference to that. Now we're going to echo another string, and this time it's going to be for variable x outside function is x. So we have it set this way, save. Now we're trying to get ourselves to use the global scope. So using x inside the function will generate an error. This would definitely generate an error. So let's try to run it and let's see. Back to the browser, refresh. Can you see that it said variable x inside this function is 5, is nothing rather, and the variable x outside function is 5. Undefined variable x in line 15. So that's just it. Line 15, yeah, there's an undefined variable, so it's not usable, but yet still echoed out nothing because this is not defined. In some other programming languages, you have this as null. So that's how it flows. So that's for global scope. You can't use a variable outside a function in a function. But now for local scope, a variable declared within a function has a local scope and can only be accessed within that function. So you need to now do something here, or just let's cut this off and let's paste it right inside the function. It must be inside the function. So now you called it, and you see, let's see what's going to happen. Let's save that and let's refresh. Can you see variable x inside the function is 5, while variable that is outside cannot be determined, which we have right there, because if you notice, we're even trying to add up x and y, yet because x is right inside the function, it threw an error which you can see visibly here, undefined variable on line 11, which is here because we're trying to access x inside the function, and also here we are trying to access x which is inside the function. That's why we have another error that has been triggered over here as well. The only correct one is the one right inside the function. You can say variable x inside the function is fine. Others are undefined. Can you see that? So that's just what we really want to get here. So local, global variables work in a different format. So that's just it. The third, or let's say the last kind of variable is the static keyword, whereby when a function is completed or executed, all of its variables are deleted. However, sometimes we want a local variable not to be deleted. We need it for a further job. So to do this, you use the static keyword when you first declare the variable. So let's try to have a static variable. Now I'm still going to just, so right there we're still having the function text, but this time let me just take away all this, take away this, or let me just cut this out, bring it back, and fine. Now in the test we're going to declare static variable. Let's call it x equals 0. Let's echo x. Now let's make an increment of x. X plus plus. That's fine. So we can still trigger the my test. Now we're going to definitely echo out some stuff here. Let's have the break, the line break, and let's have a copy of this, and we're going to call my test one more time. And let's give a break. Let's call my test one more time again. Fine. Save that right there. So now if you notice, we have a static variable of x which is initialized as 0. Now we echo that out and we make an increment. Now we want to call this method 3 different times. Let's say the 3 increments. Probably we're going to have 1, 2, 3, and so forth. So we'll save. Let's get to look at this right there in the browser. Can you see that we have 1, 2, 1, 2. It actually starts from 0 just because I didn't add a break somewhere here. Save that. Let's go back. Okay, we have it from 0, 1, 2. So that's just the way to use a static variable, and I hope you've really learned one or two things when it comes to variable in PHP. These are just the different forms of variable you get to be seeing, and we still have a lot to talk about when it comes to data types, strings, constants, operators, the if-else statements in PHP, switch rather, while loops, for loops, functions, arrays, sorting arrays, globals, and so on. Don't go anywhere. Try to subscribe to my channel. We have a lot right there for you, in stock for you. Take good care of yourself. Have a wonderful time.